Evening, everyone. Welcome back to the weekly Armchair Sports Talk podcast. This is the United show. This is Devil's Advocate. Originally, today we're just going to chat about Manchester United versus Wolves. Obviously, massive game in the race for top four. So we will chat about that kind of in the second half of the pod here today. But first and foremost, we are going to discuss the breaking news of Jim Ratcliffe supposedly being the leading bidder for the takeover of Manchester United. I do have a great panel of guests here today. So I have Stu, I have Hama, and I have Wes as well. So look, very good panel of guests here today. And look, there's a lot to chat about this evening because like there's been a lot of news today, and not even so much with takeover, but also the game tomorrow and injuries and stuff like that. So we will touch on that. First of all, Stu, I'll come to you first. First of all, thanks for coming on. Look, the breaking news has been that supposedly Jim Ratcliffe is going to be, I suppose, at this moment in time, according to some sources, the preferred bidder. Other sources are then saying, essentially, Qatar can maybe put in 11th-hour bid. When you look at the different stories that are coming out with regards to this takeover, what's your immediate reaction, considering we look at the framework of Ratcliffe's takeover? It looks like it's going to be a 50% takeover with the Glazers still having shares as well as the New York Stock Exchange. What are your overall thoughts about, I suppose, Ratcliffe's bidding? I suppose maybe the lack of news of, I suppose, the repairing the stadium, doing up the ground, putting in transfers. We haven't seen any commitment with regards to that. What's your overall thoughts?
Too much public information. So what you're being is drip fed information that is maybe 20% true of the reality, because when you're dealing with any takeover actually, but certainly a takeover of this magnitude, it will be littered with NDAs, absolutely littered with NDAs, and you're dealing with some serious people, and there are certain rules and regulations that New York Stock Exchange will have with regards to information that you can and cannot say. So I in my experience at what I do for a living, in terms of the finance side of buying companies in the past, and now what I do in the media and the sports media in particular, you have to take it almost with a pinch of salt, really. And I just think the reality, although there may be a bit of truth in it, it won't be as cut and dried as what is being reported. Well, there'll be a few reasons for that. You're not just buying a company for 300 mil. You're talking about investing potentially 4 billion quid. And for any business, whether it's Ineos or whether it's Apple, Microsoft, it doesn't really matter, to just invest 4 billion and then try and oust them in. I mean, by the way, this has all been reported. Try and oust them over a 3-year period just makes very, very little sense to me at all. It doesn't stack for me. It's not something I would do. If you look at Ineos as a business, that's no problem. They're hugely profitable. I think it was something like 15 billion last year. And they've got a sports arm, which is run by Utd Wesley. Anyone who knows cycling will know how proficient and competent he is. He runs it close to the line. There's absolutely no two ways about it, but he will have a way of running and rebuilding the club, and he'll know the right people to bring in, and he'll know the types of people that we need to bring in. He's also, he's worked with Sir Ben Ainsley, he works with Mercedes in F1, etc. So he'll know the types of people that we need to bring in. In terms of restructuring, Ineos will have the funds. I just think that maybe Sir Jim Ratcliffe is potentially the face of the proposal, but it will be the business Ineos that Manchester United come under. So we'll be part of the Ineos group, so to speak, which is fine. So from a financial standpoint, there will be no issues in terms of money available. In terms of, I'd be amazed if Ineos didn't clear the debt There are people saying that they're just going to put the debt back on, onto Ineos. Okay, which is fine because it wouldn't matter anyway. I mean, if you look at Microsoft, their short-term debt solution something like 15 billion. Their long-term debt solution is 101. So, sorry, Apple, not Microsoft, Apple. And so carrying debt on a business is neither in nor there. As long as you can service it, it doesn't really matter. So, there's also talk, isn't there, that Qatar will come in with an 11th hour bid, etc. Look, I'm not really sure I believe most of it, really. As I say, if a journalist has got a scoop, a real scoop, then somebody's broken an NDA, and there can be massive penalties, massive financial penalties, and actual criminal penalties against that one particular person if the NDA has been broken. So, pinch of salt for me. I'm still kind of at that stage until there's an official announcement.
Yeah, look, I think with the NDA, like especially like 2 months ago, they said there was NDAs put in place when the Qatar story came out that they were building the 92 Foundation and they laid out their plans. Like if they were successful with their bid, that kind of makes me beg the question. Like even with both Qatar and Ratcliffe, if the NDAs are there, how are these stories coming out? How legitimate are they?
Exactly.
I think that like when you look at certain little details, I think that's what would make you question it. Wes, obviously, like I've seen on Twitter for a while, kind of being very vocal about the takeover. I've seen obviously, originally Jim Ratcliffe probably would have been your original choice. Let's say this time last year when we didn't know about them keeping the debt at the club, etc. And stuff like that. When you look at his potential plans for the football club, would you be aligned to have him at the football club, or do you think maybe with Qatar's plans, the fact that they're going to remove the debt, rebuild the training ground, and obviously put funds in the club, would you be more in favour of that, considering, I suppose, the problems we've had with debt at the football club and the recent, I suppose, if you look at the last 2 years, the financial losses that we've reported recently?
Yeah. I think first and foremost, I think the way that both parties sort of announced themselves to Manchester United, you saw the difference in obviously the two statements that did come out. Qatar were very clear on what they wanted to do. They want to obviously invest in the infrastructure, the women's teams, the team itself. They want to clear the debt. And the key thing for me was that it was clear in the statement that they wanted to run Manchester United as a non-profitable organisation, in terms of we weren't just going to profit money, and the owners weren't going to be taking money out of the club like they currently are now, which for me is massive, because that for me is something that we've dealt with for so long, and we've suffered as fans because of it as well, because you only got to see this season where the manager got to January, and I'm he's probably a lovely bloke, Wout Weghorst, probably a lovely bloke, comes across really professional, has time for fans, but no other club in our position in the Premier League, say Manchester United, your Liverpools, no other club would have chosen to sign that kind of player in that position. They would have made funds available. The problem is we don't have the funds, and at the end of the day, this football club is the biggest football club in the world, and we're having to behave the way we are because of owners taking money out of the club consistently and leaving us dry. The thing is with Ratcliffe now is that obviously initially we were under the illusion, if you like, that he was really the only man that was at the table. If we're looking back 12 months, with a possibility of the club being sold. I think the fact that he's opted to get into the bed with the Glazers to benefit himself in terms of buying the club is alarm bells are ringing for me a lot, because even though he's saying he has this vision of phasing the Glazer family out in 3 years, that isn't a guarantee. They could be here longer. Also, if the Glazers aren't happy with the price they're going to get in 3 years, because share price and all that, it could come down. The shares that they own could be worth less. They might choose to hang on to them as well. So, for me, if my opinion and my choice has been clear in the last few months of what I want personally. If Qatar weren't at the table and Sir Jim Ratcliffe's idea was to buy 100% of the football club, obviously including the 33%, 31% shares that have to be obtainable after buying the Glazer family, then I think I would take him more embracefully as opposed to what I am now. Because at the end of the day, we all want a full sale of the football club. We don't want the Glazers involved in any capacity. That is absolutely crystal clear throughout, whether you're Sir Jim Ratcliffe, whether you're Qatar, whether you're Carlisle or Elliott Group or whoever. The fact is, we don't want them here. They've overstayed their welcome. They've destroyed the football club. The stadium's falling down. I'm walking around Old Trafford, every home game, and I'm looking around and I'm thinking, I've been to stadiums in the Championship that are in better condition than what Old Trafford currently is. So for me, as I say, I've always been clear in my opinion on what I would like. But if I'm going to be completely honest, I agree with Stu. I think that you have to take what's coming out at the moment with a pinch of salt. Obviously, there's non-disclosures. Everything has been signed. This is a billions of pounds of a business we're talking about. I highly doubt that the information is coming out is totally true. And in my personal opinion, I don't think any kind of accurate news would come from a sports journalist. I think if anything comes through, you're probably going to have to look at financial journalists, Bloomberg's, and your people who are consistently monitoring these, the stock market. So, there's a lot of uproar on Twitter in the last hour. I've seen a few people upset about things. Obviously, sometimes I read things, I get a bit upset myself because obviously we all care. We all want the best for our football club. But I think we need to just wait until something official is announced by Rain Group or the club itself.
Yeah, look, especially we've seen the reports from Mike Keegan today, basically saying that that we won't know more until kind of next week. And look, I think we kind of have to hold tight. And at the end of the day, if theoretically speaking, if we can get the Glazers out within them 3 years, I'll take it. Is it ideal? No. Is it ideal? No, it isn't. We'd better get a full sale in right now, and obviously equip the manager and the men's manager, the women's manager, with good plans going forward to be successful. And it's just, that I think that stagnates if Ratcliffe comes in with only a 50% stake. I think long term, look, I think we could end up being fine. But the problem is if let's say if different owners, not even just saying Qatar, but let's say if there was another party there, it would be better if we got 100% sale. And it's just, I think fans have that fear of the Glazers. Like you said, Wes, I think that there's been kind of mistrust it's been existing there for over 20 years, and it's just it's not going to go away. It's not, and it never will. And I think that's why when. Look, to be fair, 12 months ago, Jim Ratcliffe was the only person willing to buy in. Obviously, he didn't take over Chelsea. Then obviously after the Chelsea deal fell through, there was talks of Ratcliffe coming in. We were all delighted. My Twitter handle is there. The receipts are there. 12 months ago, I would have been happy that Ratcliffe was coming in. But when I see certain plans, I kind of do question it. But look, hopefully, we can get this sorted sooner rather than later, whether it's Jim Ratcliffe or whether it's Qatar or whoever it may be. This just has to be done, I think, by June. It probably won't be with all the due diligence and stuff like that. Ideally, I'd like to see the manager have a full summer.
To be fair, Keane, most of the due diligence is done. You'd have done all that. You're way past the due diligence now. This is about the final negotiations, final price, etc. One thing Wes touched on, sorry, Hammer. One thing Wes touched on is absolutely right. You've got to question the Glazers' mentality of sticking around for 3 years because you're gambling billions of pounds, billions of dollars on the valuation of a club in 3 years' time, unless the Ratcliffe deal is guaranteeing them a lump sum. It's going to be $1 billion, 500 million, each or something along those lines. So it is a huge gamble. Also, again, I go back to it. Why would you pay $4 billion or whatever it is for 51% or 60% of a football club? It's mind-blowing numbers to not own the club. straight out. In my humble opinion, it's just an opinion that I hold. I don't. You know, it was me. If I was laying out £4 billion, I would want full ownership. I wouldn't want part ownership. It's almost, although he's the major shareholder, guys, it's almost an investment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really, when you think about it, it's more of an investment rather than owning the club. And then with that 4 billion you've got, who then invest? Okay, most businesses will go and take a loan anyway. If you're Ineos, you go and take a bill, 2 billion loan to redevelop Old Trafford or rebuild Old Trafford, and also the training ground. You wouldn't use your own money for that. There's no need to use your own money to do that. Now, Qatar probably would use their own money, or as they were, I think, and Wes, you might be able to, or Hammer, confirm or deny this. I think they were in bed with Credit Suisse, weren't they? Or the Swiss bank, which went just recently.
That was nearly reported an hour ago, weren't it? That something.
Oh, was it? Oh, so I didn't know. I think they may have lost a few billion out of that. So I don't know. To me though, why would you invest 4+ billion? Anything over $1 billion, to me, why would you just invest that unless you invest in Apple or whatever?
Yeah.
Surely you'd want to own Man United right out. So this is where I'm struggling with that 20%. I can't comprehend it in my own brain. I could be wrong, as I say, but I can't comprehend it. But that's just me. Sorry, Hannah.
No, you're good.
Like the thing about it is, and like Hammer, I'll come to you on it. I think like if they have a legitimate plan to get rid of him after the 3 years, then look, fair enough. But again, I think we'll have to wait and see when the takeover happens in the framework if it kind of gets laid out to us, like the exact intentions. Like same way. Look, Sean's in the comments. He's a Chelsea fan. Same way like Todd Bowley when he took over now. There's a lot, and Stu's been slagging him off for ages, calling him Todd Woodward, etc. But there's different ways that Chelsea have kind of laid out their takeover and their plans. They've hired new people. I think next year you'll see a way better Chelsea because of the people they've put in place now. It was kind of scattergun because they had nobody in certain positions in the club, but they've laid out a plan. Like you even see some of the players they got on big long contracts. That's all long term. It mightn't be a 12-month thing, but it's definitely going to be 18 to 24 months. You even look at, I always hate mentioning these bastards, but Liverpool, when FSG came in, getting Michael Edwards in and really they're reshaping that club. So it is a strange one. But Hammer, I'm going to come to you. Like, let's say Qatar do come in with this 11th hour bid, and let's say if they're successful, there's obviously from a sporting point of view, I think it's probably our best option. If you look at the money they're going to put in, with the money they're going to invest in certain areas of the club, and obviously rebuild the stadium and the training ground, etc. And especially we know the academy's already in a good place. That doesn't probably need any attention really. But when you look at kind of what their plans are, as opposed to Jim Ratcliffe, would you be kind of, we know the political stuff that comes with him, and look, at the end of the day, we can't control that. Like as fans, that's not something we can control from that standpoint. But for yourself, where's your head at? Especially if they come in and they're successful, would you be 100% behind that, considering kind of what they've laid out to us already, even before taking over potentially?
Yeah, from the sporting side, I just want whoever's going to do the best for the club in terms of the overall project. From the politics side of it, I mean, to touch on that, my thing is there's definitely stuff that I don't agree with either if you want to look at politics stuff, but there's so many other types of owners, like in this sense, that are still in the Premier League and in other leagues as well. So, an example would be like Manchester City, right? They have who their owners are. And, like one of the things that people always talk about is the LGBTQ and everything like that. They still do the rainbow stuff. So, if the owners are just going to come about it and do it in terms of doing what's best for the club and trying to get the club to be winning again and doing the business side of it, you could try to keep the politics out of it. And to be honest, I've gotten to a point now when it comes to all this politics stuff, in the sense of everybody's got some shit that goes on with them wherever you're from. Some are definitely worse than others, obviously, but people got to start looking in the mirror to an extent in certain things. So yeah, we can't really throw up in arms because Manchester United is going to be bought by certain type of people if there's other clubs and they're bought by those same bodies of people or whatever, however term you want to put it. So for me, I'm just looking at who's going to do the best for the club, and if it's them, then it's them. And I kind of agree. One thing that's been sketching me out a lot about the RATCLIFFE stuff, and is more that it's come out with them wanting to keep the Glazers around for however amount of time, is just that like they don't seem to have fully what everybody wants, whether it's the full purchase or whatever, things like that. And then now with this whole keeping Glazers around for a few years, that makes it all a little more sketchy than I'd like. Because
on that one hand,
yeah,
sorry guys, read the room. I mean, for fuck's sake, read the fucking room. You know, Jim Ratcliffe, who knows that the fans don't want the Glazers anywhere near it, but I'll do a deal to have the Glazers.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense to anyone on the panel.
And for me, if you're going to look at how the Glazers have been, like, you know, people call them different types of names and stuff, but leeches don't just, you know, you got to pull them the fuck off and toss them away. They don't just go away on their own. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I don't get.
And do you know what as well? Like, in the way when I look at this, especially with them potentially keeping on for a short amount of time, our fans are relentlessly protesting at the minute to get them out for a full sale only. And like Jim Ratcliffe is a Man United fan, supposedly anyway. He has a Chelsea season ticket. Make of that what you will, but he supposedly is a Man United fan. He obviously would have seen that there's groups like the 1958 protesting and doing fantastic work to try to get them out of the club. There's all the fan supporter groups, like the supporters clubs. I'm part of a supporters club myself here in Ireland, official branch. That look, they're all uniting with the 58 to help get the Glazers out. If Ratcliffe wants to kind of maintain a good relationship with the fans and start off on the right foot, surely the fuck you do not want to keep them there, like in any capacity, because it's only going to set it off with a bad precedent. And like you want, like if you look at the last 17 years, right, 17, 18 years, the club haven't had a relationship with the fans. They haven't been open. The Glazers are broke so many promises. The fan base is divided, and I think, look, it's always going to be divided in the current climate we're in. But the last thing you want to do is antagonize your match-going fan. Like, they're your customers. They're the people who turn up every week. They're the people who support the players every week. That's the last thing you want to do is antagonize them. And, like, you're kind of doing that, with the Glazers in place. Because in the first 18 months, let's say this goes tits up. For whatever reason, City are building, Newcastle, look, I'm fucking petrified of them because they're coming. They are. They have a big plan in place. They're coming. Liverpool won't be as bad. Chelsea, like I said a few minutes ago, they're going to come back. I think, realistically, they're a striker and another centre midfielder away from being right up there again. I know Arsenal are building great things there at the moment. They're playing great football. They have a great young team. If this goes tits up in the next 18 months and the Glazers are still there, and again, we're seeing lack of communication, lack of investment, and things like the stadium and all that still being neglected in that time, protests are going to happen again. They're going to happen again. And not only that, Qatar aren't bidding for United. Who's to say they don't bid for Tottenham? Because Tottenham are worth a lot less than Manchester United. Liverpool are worth less than Manchester United.
Yeah.
That's the fear, and I think that's where fan concern comes from.
Do you think about Ratcliffe? If you do keep Joel and Avram on, I mean, isn't it just like taking a shotgun and blowing one of your legs off? Yeah. Because you're going to be so much on the back foot, you're going to disable yourself immediately. Immediately disable yourself.
And in terms
of how you grow and appease yourself to the fans, because the fans just aren't going to have any of it. They're not going to have any of it.
And I know the Glazers at this point that people know they're shitheads, but like I'm pretty sure, wasn't they also saying the other parts of their family don't want to stay in this shit either? Like, why are you trying to stay around if not only some parts of your family no longer want to be involved, but all the fans hate you? Like, it just doesn't make sense. So if you're gonna do the sale, just sell it off. And I'm sorry, just to make it slightly turn to more, less pessimistic as we are all being, because we all gotta not get overly hyped about anything. For me, I also love like the business side of stuff and the entertainment side of sports. I am from the States and stuff, and I know y'all don't always love that. But Manchester United, in this world of social media, in this world of marketing and what it is now, we haven't been successful. And I just would love to see the type of level, because like you both just said, I think Stu just said it, Tottenham and Liverpool are worth significantly less than Manchester United. Can you imagine Manchester United successful in this world of marketing, in this world of entertainment, in this world of sports? It would be ridiculous. The money, the success. Anyway, sorry. It's just, I don't get it as like someone who likes business as well, how they don't understand running Manchester United correctly would have made them even more money in the time that they've been here. But
so is they're absolutely fucking brain dead. And look, I'm not going to mince my words on them. People have, like, anyone who's been watching this channel knows I've been consistent on my takes on the Glazers. And then you'll have rival fans who will get in the comments and they will say, you want the Glazers out because you're losing. Lads, we wanted the Glazers out when we're winning leagues and Champions Leagues. So, like, look, yeah, you can sit down on that one, but we will park the takeover talk from there because I suppose there's a lot more we're going to find out in the next couple of days, maybe a week's time. We're going to find out a lot more with regards to this takeover. But Wesley, I'm going to come to you. Ten Hag done his press conference today. It was always a good news, bad news scenario at the presser today. Good news, Rafael Varane finally returned to the defence after a bad injury. And looks like he's ready to come back in and ready to start tomorrow. But on the other hand, obviously, our talisman this season, Marcus Rashford, looks like he's out again with a leg injury. Are you concerned with Rashford's kind of injury at the minute? Because obviously he had the hamstring, the groin injury, and it kind of felt like he was kind of rushed back, and now he's after picking up another injury. Obviously, we've been struggling to score goals as of late, and now obviously our top goal scorer is out. Are you any bit concerned with his injury, and do you think we rushed him back a bit too quickly, considering the situation we're in?
Yeah, I think I am. I'm a bit concerned, obviously, because even when Rashford, doesn't play, there seems to be a failure of players not stepping up and taking accountability and looking to be, the main man, if you like, when Rashford isn't playing. It's a massive miss for us. And even when Rashford is out the game a little bit, that he can produce that little bit of magic and get you back in the game or get a goal, So in terms of rushing back, the thing is, I think, unfortunately, the medical team, unless it's a concussion, don't tend to really make that decision. I think players will always be asked if they think they're okay to play. And there's no better feeling than playing a game of football. And I think sometimes the players maybe can't see past that and see the bigger picture. So I would probably put a little bit of responsibility on Marcus for that. I think personally, looking at it, he probably did come back a bit sooner. He probably should have owned up. Listen, I don't know what goes on in the dressing room or what goes on in the training ground or whatever, but I think he probably should have said, look, I need a little bit more time. I think the best thing to do now is, because we do have we've got four cup finals, 5 cup finals now in total to go for without Marcus. I'm really looking for someone to step up, and I think at the moment, given the fact that we seem to just have run out of legs, I think we look like we didn't have enough energy. When the likes of Jadon Sancho is playing, Martial are playing, they don't seem to stamp that authority on games at the moment, and I fear that without Marcus, I really don't see where we're going to get goals. There's creativity, obviously, in the midfield with Eriksen and Bruno, but we've got a big problem in our front three at the moment, and none of them, albeit Anthony, I think, is a good player. He's very important to the system that we play.
Do you think the return of Garnacho?
I think we've missed Garnacho as much as we're missing Lisandro Martinez. I think Garnacho scares defenders to death, and I think that he's so confident when he plays. He's so dangerous that I think other opposition fullbacks and centre backs, they probably give him a bit too much space because they're afraid of him. We've missed him massively, and I do hope tomorrow Garnacho starts, because I think that he could be key, and he's also got a goal in him as well. So I think he'll be important. But yeah, I am a bit concerned, Keane, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, look, I think his goals. Look, I know if you look at his goal record the last 2 months, he hasn't scored that many, but like I think you have to attribute that to he was out for a while with injury, as well. So like that record kind of speaks for itself. But it's a massive concern because when you look, like you said, around the pitch, Weghorst isn't scoring goals, Martial isn't scoring, Anthony's kind of goal contributions have dried up. I think at this moment in time, you'd like to think Garnacho would come in and maybe they'll help us, earn more set pieces, beat players, get assists. I think one thing we did see with Garnacho when he was fit, truth be told, we've missed him for 2 months. He's been out for 2 months, and maybe just a bit more. And like he was someone who was a great impact player off the bench. He'd stretch, like we'd obviously about 60, 70 minutes into a game, he'd come on and he just, like you said, he'd beat players, he'd create chances, he'd get the odd goal or two. So look, where I look at the other players in the team, their finishing isn't great. I look at Garnacho's finishing this season. He scored actually quite good goals this season. So he definitely could be someone who could help us. I just hope he does start, because like I think with Jadon Sancho, he's just suffering from a massive crisis of confidence at the minute. I'm just really unsure if he can regain that back, because he's already had his time out of the team. Can you really take him out again? That's a big problem. In that respect, can Palestri come in and make a difference? He looks very good technically, but that's the problem we have. I think that's where in the summer, look, regardless of ownership and who's there, it needs to be addressed. Like I think you look at other clubs, you look at players like Ivan Toney, he's smashing at Brentford. Like he'd be a brilliant player. Obviously, the biggest choice for me would be Harry Kane, but dealing with Daniel Levy is probably going to be a nightmare. Even if we had Wes just dropped there, he'd probably be back there in a sec. But like even if we had Qatar, I'd say getting Harry Kane would probably be a nightmare as well. Even though look, he's my number one choice to come in as a number 9 next season. But right now, if we talk about what we have right now, taking our chances is a problem. Now we know. Look, we've done a full show on the goalkeeper. I'm not going to talk about the problem we have with the goalkeeper because I'm sick to fucking death of it. But right now, I think look, up front we do have. We do have an issue up front, and definitely, whether it's Kane, whether it's Ivan Toney, or I'd rule Ozzy myself personally. I'd rule Ozyman out because, like, looking at reports, he's going to cost about 140 to 160 million, and no way, not a chance. Just pay the 100 for Harry Kane if that's what they're charging, because Harry Kane's a sure thing. Do you know what I mean? But Stu, I'll come to you. Like, I suppose at the minute, I wanted to bring this up to you because Shane made this point to me there last week. We were just chatting about United and kind of where we're struggling. And a point Shane made to me, I want to bring it to you, is Bruno and Rashford's positions have been changed recently. Rashford's been played up front, or he's kind of been moved away from that left-hand side. Bruno Fernandes has literally been played everywhere, on the right, on the left, deep in midfield. At the start of the season, he played 1 or 2 games up front. In our best run of form, them two are playing as the number 10, as the left midfielder. And looks like Ten Hag is kind of compensating for the lesser players and taking them out of their best positions. Do you think that's hurt us recently? Because I actually never thought of this. I actually looked at players like Weghorst coming in, playing Rashford up top and playing Sancho on the left. It's kind of, I suppose, for me, it's just disturbed our rhythm tactically. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, what Wes says about Weghorst is right. Probably a lovely bloke, but should we have gone from in January? I think the answer to that would be no. But, and there's a massive but here. And Wes, I know you go to every game like my lad does. Season ticket holder, etc. And I know you'll know and agree with what I'm about to say. When you put Weghorst as a 9, okay, that allowed, as you quite rightly pointed out, instead of Shane, allows Rashford to play at his best position on the left, and brought us Anthony to where he is today on the right. That allowed Bruno, Casemiro, and Eriksen, when we were winning games of football and we were pretty much unplayable, to rotate as a threesome in a circular motion. All right. Now, you've heard me talk about Casemiro on many occasions, the way he just drops 10 yards, moves 10 yards, waits, head's always on a swivel, and he's ready. He just walks the spine beautifully. But when we're playing free-flowing football, and I know you know this, Wes, good old Weghorst created the space. He created the space for both Anthony and Rashford to get in behind. He was not scoring goals, and that's the biggest problem. The fans wanting him to score goals. But Wes, you've got a keen eye for football, mate. I know you have, and you're at the pit. You're at the ground all the time. Hammett, Keane, you both have. You understand the cosmetics of football, but the real basics, and the real basics are the ones that completely gets overshadowed. Nobody understands the real basics of football, and when you've got the likes of Bruno, the likes of Eriksen, the likes of Casemiro, able to rotate in a circular motion. So sometimes Eriksen will drop deep because Casemiro's moved forward. Bruno's gone from left to right, right to left. Sometimes Casemiro's surpassed Bruno, and Bruno comes in as an 8. It was the perfect foil with Weghorst because he created that space. Okay. Once, and I think, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I really do believe Ten Hag started to believe the fans. And he took Weghorst out of the equation, and don't forget, by the way, we lost Eriksen, so we've lost that whole puzzle that was working so well. That front six was really, really dynamic, and it also helped. And again, spot on, Wes, and spot on because Hammer's mentioned this before. So is Keane, by the way. Martinez, not so much the partner, whoever it is, it's Martinez. So you've got Martinez, Casemiro, Eriksen, Bruno, Weghorst were the key to our success. And it's amazing that we talk about Weghorst being absolutely key to this, and he's critical. And he has been. And
I think playing him as a number 10, I'll be honest, right? I'm going to be
a 10 was no good. Got to be a 9. Has to be a 9.
If you're playing him, it has to be up front, but you can't be playing number 10. If you're taking Bruno Fernandes out of that number 10 role, you're literally stripping away our creativity.
100%. And for whatever reason, Ten Hag played Weghorst as a 10 twice, didn't he? 3 times, 4 times maybe. And I don't know why he did that. We were at our most effective when we had Eriksen, Casemiro, Bruno is a 10, Weghorst up top, and Martinez. That was our central spine, and it worked. And when you got Anthony and Rashford, you got pace, trickery, skill. Rashford was scoring all his goals because he got all that space creation that Weghorst was giving us. It's nuts, I know. I know it's crazy and people will disagree, but you've got to understand football, haven't you? And I know you do, Wes, because I know you've been there. And I want to point out, by the way, and Keane will laugh at this and grin, I always say, tune into Weekly Armchair because you get top drawer football knowledge. And you mentioned 2 things, Wes, in your point. And you mentioned one thing, King, which I'm going to touch on briefly. Wes is absolutely right. I'm a player, and if I'm carrying an injury, I'm still playing. I am out on that pitch. I don't care because I'm an idiot. Because I should be resting, but I can't do it. I just cannot do it. The buzz of crossing that white line is too much. It's just too much to bear. And I'm an idiot, and I should have rested. And secondly, most importantly, you very rarely get an insight to a Premier League player's mentality and thought process about an opponent. And Garnacho offers the same fear factor that Zaha was talking about when Wan-Bissaka. As soon as he realised Wan-Bissaka was behind him for that chance when he should have, scored, his head went. His head went completely because he knew. And Garnacho offers defenders the same. Bollocks, I'm in for a real tough 20 minutes now. And these things do happen. Players of any ability, of any level, will look at a player and think, geez, I saw what he did last week, and crikey, what would I do with him? Do I get tight? Don't I get tight? Do I drag him down, risk a booking? Don't I drag him down? Do I put him in row Z? Don't I push him in row Z? All of this happens. And, I'm sorry, guys, but you can watch as many channels as you like, but nobody, talks about the insight of football like you guys. And that's really important. Those things that you talk about, other people don't notice it. And it's the same with Weghorst, Wes. It's the same with Weghorst. People don't notice it. They know, they look at his work rate, but they don't understand his work rate. And that's the key to it. So,
And can I just say something real quick too, more so on what Stu was just talking about Garnacho. It's something I think happens. I mean, obviously talent has to be there, which he has, but I think the reason he's working so well and it's why Rashford was so well in his early seasons and why he struggled in some of his difficult seasons is one of the things that scares defenders is when you have somebody that talented, but because he's so young, essentially stupid is a strong word, but he doesn't give a fuck. So he knows his talent. He knows he can take somebody on. And as a defender, you got to be ready for anything against somebody like that. So that's why the kid's playing so well. He knows he has the talent and doesn't care who's in front of him because there's nobody better.
He's just got no fear. No fear at all.
Do you know little things like do you know what game this season really struck me at Garnacho was the Sheriff game in Europa League when at home. He literally reminded me of a young Ronnie against Bolton. So literally, and he was taking on players, he was skinning everyone, and he kind of announced himself. Now I don't want to put that pressure on such a young lad, but you know when you see little things and you just know he's going to be good. You know he's going to be a massive player for us.
Do you know what, Keane? The best young player I've ever seen in my time come through Manchester United is currently not training with us because of ongoings at the club.
Yeah.
This lad can probably have the ceiling that individual has.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at Garnacho and I'm thinking, you've got what it takes to go to the top. You have got it. And I think, to be honest, I don't think there's a better manager at the moment that can manage him and manage his expectations, keep him hungry and get him to that level. What we've got to be careful of is that, obviously, with the whole ownership we touched upon earlier in the show, Garnacho is going to be, hungry to win things. And I think if the club aren't showing ambition, he's a young lad. He could probably end up elsewhere in his career, and that's not what we want. But
yeah, and you can tell he's hungry too. Oh, sorry, go ahead. My bad.
Yeah. No, completely.
I was going to say, you can tell he's hungry too from wanting to go to the Under-21s World Cup. And I'm pretty sure they told him, hey, you're going to be coming back to first team playing anyway, so you can relax about that. But he just wants he wants shit to his name.
Yeah, no, completely.
I agree with all of you. What you're saying about Garnacho, he's a precocious talent. Look, and Keane will know this because we've
disagreed on Garnacho.
We have. I've been quite. I was quite vocal, wasn't I, Keane, about the way that he plays, and too focused. In fact, there was times where the ball was running quicker than his brain could calculate and compute, and he just wasn't dealing with it. But Keane made valid points. As well about him, being young, and he will find that finishing touch, and he eventually did, didn't he, Keane? If you remember, before he got injured, he started to move the ball better. He started to cross the ball.
Even his decision making against City in the derby, I've seen Kyle Walker live a few times, right, and in person. I've never seen a player in such a short spell terrorize Kyle Walker like Garnacho did for that 20 minutes. Kyle Walker, didn't know whether to step in, didn't know whether to drop off and give him a few yards. Garnacho really did terrorize him. I think he's such a talented player, and he's so direct. He's skillful. Like I said, he if he just develops a head and the shoulders, and he doesn't take things for granted like other young players at this football club have done in the past. Ravel Martin, unfortunately see him happen with Ravel Martin and the path that he went down, and he was so talented. Paul Pogba was wherever people are going to jump on me, but Paul Pogba was a talented player, but unfortunately, again, his focus was on other things, and it didn't work out for him here. Jesse Lingard didn't work out for him. I look at Garnacho, and I really think he can make it. He really can. It's just if he keeps good influences around him, like the likes of Bruno Fernandes, who took him under his wing during pre-season after Garnacho was late for a meeting. Having Erik ten Hag, a disciplinarian, over him as a manager.
I think Martinez got his arm around him on the national team too, so that's good too.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And I'm so fucking glad he didn't declare for Spain, because I'm telling you one thing, you would have had the likes of Gavi and Pedri, you would have had them sniffing around to try get him over there. So yeah, look, he's an exceptional talent, and I just hope he can harness it the right way and off the pitch stuff. We've seen it happen with so many young players coming out of Carrington, that they've gone down the wrong path. So, look, I hope it's hope it's for the better. But Evan's saying Bruno a good influence. He's a Chelsea fan in our comments, and yes, he is. There's a reason why he is the armband now, and why Harry Maguire doesn't. I'm just going to leave that there. But before we wrap up, I do want to get starting 11 and score predictions from all the lads on tomorrow's game. So, Stu, I'll come to you first. Obviously, there's a few players injured, a few players coming back. I'm interested to get your 11, and then I'll get your score prediction as well off you as well, please.
So, my 11 is going to surprise you a little bit, but not too bad. De Gea in goal. I'm going to go with Shaw left back, Lindelof, Maguire. Keep Varane on the bench. Aaron Wan-Bissaka. So Dalot drops to the bench for me. Midfield three of Casemiro, Eriksen, and Bruno. Up top, Weghorst. Sancho, with Garnacho coming on for Sancho second half, and Anthony. Score prediction. I think we win 2-1. But we go one behind, and our good old friend Neves is going to score 20, from 20 yards, isn't he?
I said this in the group chat earlier that he's going to score a screamer.
Why I'm suggesting Maguire is 2 points, really. We're going to need Varane over the next couple of games, but we need him for the FA Cup final. We desperately need him for that. And if you bring him in and he breaks down, which he's likely to do, it's not worth it against Wolves. It just isn't. Secondly, correct me if I'm wrong, lads, but I don't think Wolves are rapid up top at all. If Jimenez plays, he's not quick.
Costa
plays, he's not quick. But Maguire's physical, and they are physical players, and I think Maguire will love it. He likes a fight, but he's good in a fight as well. He's good in the air, and I just think it's a good game for Maguire to play. So that's my starting 11, and I think it will be a 2-1 win. But Neves will do his customary 20-yarder. He always does, doesn't he?
He always scores a screamer against us.
He does. He always does.
Yeah, more Moutinho, isn't it?
Yeah, or Moutinho. Yeah, it's always the same. Nothing changed. Jota, it was Jota, wasn't it, at one point as well?
Oh, fuck that guy! Honestly,
yeah.
respectfully, fuck that guy. Obviously because he's Scouser now, so that's exactly why I'm saying respectfully, fuck that guy. Wes, do you have anything different to Stu in your predicted 11?
Yeah, I think personally, and people have been throwing the word agenda around quite an awful lot recently, but my opinion is my opinion. I stand by it, and I think that poor performances shouldn't be consistently rewarded in the team, particularly when it's happened consistently through the season. Individual mistakes that have cost us points. I think being Manchester United and being as big as what the football club is, you have to behave in a manner that you keep your standards high. And I think that, as I said, mistakes should not go unpunished in the team. So that being said, my starting 11, I'd go with Jack Butland in goal.
Okay, yeah.
I absolutely would as well.
Why not? Why not?
I'd go with Jack Butland in goal. My back four, I would stick with Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Shaw, and Dalot. I think reason being, and I agree with Stu with Maguire, I think that it will be a physical game. It always is against Wolves. It's always a difficult game. But I think we also need to not gamble on Varane because of his injuries. And also I think we need to ensure we've got a sustainable plan B should we need to field this back four in the cup final. Because I think although if we give Varane a bit of additional time, there's no guarantee that he could break down in training and other things like that. And obviously Martinez is out for probably until pre-season. But yeah, I would go Bissaka, Lindelof, Shaw, Dalot. My midfield three would be Casemiro, Eriksen, Bruno. And I would go Anthony, Weghorst and Garnacho up front. I think that is enough to win the game. I think that Wolves had a decent result against Aston Villa in their last game, but they're not a very good side. This team is more than capable of winning the game. So that being said, I am going to go with a narrow 2-1 win.
So we've 2-2-1s, and we've Veghorst starting up front in both lineups. Hammer, do you have Veghorst starting up front in your 11?
I mean, the thing is with the starting 11s, it's an issue with the injuries and form. I think most of mine is going to be similar to Stu's, and I kind of agree with the back four as well. Even though I'm definitely not a fan of Maguire, I think getting him there for the physicality, but also as much as we all like the Shaw at center back experiment, he hasn't been effective going forward as much for us because he's not in that left back position. So I'd kind of like to see him go back there as well. And of course, I agree with keeping keeping Varane on the bench because we do need him for more important games. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, I know it would be a big ask for the kid, but between people's forms and the injuries, I think I might start Garnacho just to see, because he didn't play last game, and I'm sure he would have wanted to. He sat on the bench the whole time. So if he is actually back in terms of health, I wouldn't mind seeing him getting a start. And, I think your guys' options both was Sancho starting. And, I love Sancho as a talent, but he's been out of form. So give the kid a chance. He's going to be hungry. He's going to attack people. And with the way, and so what Stu was talking about earlier with what Weghorst does bring, the kid might find some space behind and get a shot off or get a pass off and actually do something with it.
Yeah, look, it's interesting to see kind of what he goes with, isn't it? Like in certain positions.
Where's you got me thinking about Butland now? That's a shout, that is, pal. I've got to be honest.
Do you know what, Stu? I just think we're too nice, and I think we settle for. We seem to just not, unless there's a clause in De Gea's contract that you must start every game. It's just, I totally respect De Gea for what he's done for the club, his appearances, his honours, and he's been there through probably, tough times in the club as well. And, let's not forget he is a Premier League winner too. But I think we're in a new era now with a new manager. You can't have players who not just once, not just twice, it's 3, 4, 5 times a season, jeopardising points for the team. And I think we need to become a bit more ruthless in the sense of if a player makes a mistake, and it doesn't matter who you are, whether you're David De Gea, whether you're Christian Eriksen, Bruno Fernandes, every player in that team needs to understand that they are droppable. And they need to take accountability for each and every performance, because I was always told I didn't play at an extremely high level. I played at a decent level myself. I was only told you're only as good as your last game.
Very, very true. I mean, Wes, I to this day, I'm 53 now, dude, and I'm still white as a sheet until I see my name on the team sheet. I can't settle until I know I'm playing, and I play 99% of the games.
Yeah.
But I always say to my lads, the first time you get any sign of complacency, you're out. Take a step outside, mate, because you've got to be hungry all the time. It's a great chat, really. It really is.
And I mean, just to give another way of putting it to that same thing, off the same type of thing that Wes says, I always hear professional athletes and over in the States, like NBA players and stuff, talk about the league is now also a "what have you done for me lately" thing. So like, they don't, you did this stuff in the past, but what have you done lately and what can you give us? And that's what people care about. So
that's totally great.
Hammock, I've never got a score prediction from you on your.
Oh shit!
Oh, bloody easy.
Sorry, it's some pre-show festivities that I get to take part in sometimes. I want to go. I want to do a different score, but I'm going to go 2-1 as well. I don't expect us to score anything crazy, and whoever's in goal, I don't know why. I'm just not confident with it. Not I don't know why. We all know why. I'm not confident with us keeping a clean sheet lately. So, yeah, I'll have to do the 2-1 as well.
2-1.
Oh, Keane. What are you going to do?
Oh, right. I'm going to go with what I go with, because we know Ten Hag won't go with it. I go Butland in goal as well. I've been saying for years on this channel that goalkeeper should be dropped. And again, I look like Wes. I respect him for what he's done. He's been a brilliant servant for the football club. And look, he dug us out in times post Ferguson when we could have ended up in mid-table or bottom half of the league, and in certain seasons. So look, I do respect that, but football moves on, time moves on, and we're all talking about people are being fans are saying we're being sentimental over Ollie, or we're being sentimental over certain other things. Well, let's stop being sentimental on the goalkeeper. Let's be brutally honest. Sentiment.
Yeah, I've got to agree. I'm changing mine to Butland in goal as well.
Yeah, I'd go personally go Butland in goal. I go Wan-Bissaka right back. According to the manager, he said Varane is ready to go for tomorrow. So if he is and he's fit, I trust the manager. I trust his judgment. I'd personally put him in there if he's available. With Lindelof, I think Shaw needs to be put back in at left back. We miss a lot. We miss a lot of overlaps and underlaps. We saw there. I think him and Garnacho on that left hand side gives us a whole new dynamic. I'm gonna have to give away my left midfielder now, but I think him and Garnacho could have a really good dynamic there, and really petrify Wolves with their pace and their creativity. Midfield three, I'd go Casemiro, Sabitzer, Bruno. I feel like what's happening with Eriksen lately is he's kind of blowing out of his arse after about 60 minutes in the game. So I feel like for me, if the game is opening up, and Sabitzer is a bit more mobile, he's probably not as good on the ball, but there's going to be a bit of a physical battle in midfield. I think Sabitzer would be kind of more suited to that than maybe what Eriksen would be. I think if the game
just a short one on that though, dude. It's the first time we've had a week off.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
First time we've had a week off. So whether that would help change your thoughts there, I don't know.
Also, that was a very British saying, wasn't it? You say he's blowing out of his ass?
Oh, that's
yeah.
We do. Yeah.
What I mean by that is after about 60 minutes, he's just tired. Like you can see he's jaded, and like he loses a lot of ball in the field. I feel like with a physical midfield that Wolves will play with, having the likes of Nunes and Neves in there, I feel like Sabitzer would be better suited to the game and winning through obviously contesting second balls and putting in a tackle. I feel like when the game opens up, Christian Eriksen with a half an hour to go could actually really really help us.
Yeah,
so
you're right.
Yeah.
I'd go Casemiro, Sabitzer, Bruno, and allows Bruno to play in his natural position of number 10. I already mentioned Garnacho on the left and Anthony on the right, and then up front I'm kind of torn because Martial on his day is exceptional, but his day is few and far between. I think with Wolves having physical centre backs and having the likes of Nathan Collins up there, who's very good in the air, I think maybe having Joe Vekhorst in there to maybe help with the physical battle, I think that would be fine. No, I'm Irish, Robbie. Stu said it was a British saying. But I'd go Vekhorst up top with that. I think it's kind of a toss up. Personally, I wouldn't play either, but we don't have an option, do we? So I'd go Vekhorst.
Exactly. Yeah, we haven't got that.
You're damned if you do it, damned if you don't type of thing.
Yeah.
But on that, that's my 11th score prediction. All the lads have gone 2-1. On my Super 6, I've done 2-0 United. So I'll stick to that. I'll go 2-0. Miraculously, we might keep Neves and the lads out. And
Neves, never.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen, is it?
So here, look, someone has to bring a bit of positivity because usually I'm the negative one here. So usually I'm the pessimistic one out of all of us. So yeah, look, I'll go 2-0 and first goal scorer, I'll go Bruno. Because he's basically playing against Portugal with all Wolves as Portugal
What
players.
What you could have done, King, was first goal scorer, Neves' own goal. Then you would have got your Neves striking.
That'd be one hell of an own goal.
Oh yeah.
Turns around and wallops one from 25 yards into his own goal.
Would it be better than Phil Jones' own goal though? I don't know. That was pretty spectacular.
Jones,
yeah. Yeah, look, I'll go first goal scorer Bruno Fernandes. I'd love it from the penalty spot as well, just to kind of boil a bit of piss on Twitter again. But on that, we've got all the lads' score prediction. We've 3-2-1 for the 2-0. And look, hopefully, most importantly, we get the 3 points tomorrow because we massively need them.
That's all we need. That's all we need.
Yeah, we need to start winning games. Look, at home, we've been very reliable from home, so hopefully that can continue. Obviously, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe as well. And we are, I think, 5 subscribers away from 1.3k. I would love to get to that.
Come on, lads, come on.
Before the end of before kickoff tomorrow. That'd be great. So do continue to show your support. We do appreciate it. And look, all the lads' Twitter handles are there as well. You have mine, you have Stu's. That I think Wes is Utd Wesley, and Hammers is there as well. So do drop all the lads a follow on Twitter as well. And yeah, look, we will be back tomorrow after the game, probably 5 o'clock, for the match reaction. And Mark and Stu and a few other lads will be on there as well. So do check that out. But thanks very much everyone for watching. Hope you all have a good weekend. And look, let's hope we get them 3 points. But until then, we see you later.